Hello there. It's time for another bedtime story. Are you ready? Good. Now, have you ever been naughty before? I bet you had sometimes. Well, tonight's bedtime story is about a character who's naughty all the time. Tonight's bedtime story is called Little Miss Naughty. It is written by Roger Hargreaves and pictures by Adam Hargreaves. Are you ever naughty? Sometimes, I bet. Well, Little Miss Naughty was naughty all the time. She woke up one Sunday morning and looked out of the window. Looks like a nice day, she thought to herself, and then she grinned. Looks like a day for being naughty, she said, and rubbed her hands. That Sunday, Mr. Uppity was out for his morning stroll. Little Miss Naughty knocked his hat out of his head and jumped on it. My hat! Cried Mr. Uppity. That afternoon, Mr. Clever was sitting in his garden reading a book. And do you know what that little Miss Naughty did? She broke his glasses. My glasses! Cried Mr. Clever. That evening, Mr. Bump was just standing there, minding his own business. And guess what little Miss Naughty did? She ran off with his bandages. Oh dear. And bandaged up Mr. Small. She cried. It's difficult to say anything when you're bandaged up like that. Mr. Uppity and Mr. Clever and Mr. Bump and Mr. Small were very, 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 very cross. Very, 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 very cross indeed. Oh, what a beautiful Sunday, giggled Miss Naughty as she walked along. And it isn't even bedtime yet. First thing on Monday morning, the Mr. Man had a meeting. Something has to be done, announced Mr. Uppity, who had managed to straighten out his hat. They all looked at Mr. Clever, who was wearing his spare pair of glasses. You're the cleverest, they said. What's to be done about little Miss Naughty? Mr. Clever thought. He cleared his throat and spoke. I have no idea, she said. I have, piped up Mr. Small. I know what that little naughty lady needs, he went on. And I know who can do it, he added. What? Asked Mr. Uppity. Who? Asked Mr. Clever. Aha! Chuckled Mr. Small, and went off to see a friend of his. Somebody who could do impossible things. Somebody who could do impossible things like making himself invisible. I wonder who that could be. That Monday morning, Mr. Nosy was asleep under a tree. Little Miss Naughty crept towards him with a pot of paint in one hand and a paintbrush in the other, and a rather large grin on his face. She was going to paint the end of his nose red. But just as she was about to do the dreadful deed, something happened. Somebody tweaked her nose. Somebody who she couldn't see tweaked her nose. Somebody invisible. I wonder who. Ouch! Cried Miss Naughty, and dropping the paint and his paintbrush, she ran away as fast as her little legs would carry her. On Tuesday, Mr. Busy was rushing along, as usual. Little Miss Naughty, standing by the side of the road, stuck out her foot. She was going to trip him up, head over heels and heels over head. But just before she did, something happened. Boop! The invisible nose tweaker has struck again, and it hurt. Ouch! Cried Miss Naughty, and ran away even faster than little legs would carry her. On Wednesday, Mr. Happy was at home, watching television. Outside, Miss Naughty picked up a stone. She was going to break his window. Naughty girl. But as she brought her arms back to throw, guess what? That's right. Boop! Ouch! Cried Miss Naughty as she ran off, holding her nose. And so it went on. All day Thursday, boop. All day Friday, boop. Boop. All day Saturday, boop. 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 By which time Miss Naughty's nose was bright red, but by Sunday she was good. Not naughtiness at all. Thanks to the invisible nose tweaker. On Sunday evening, Mr. Small went around to see him.
"Hello, Mr. Impossible," he smiled. "Thank you for helping me to cure Miss Naughty."
My pleasure, laughed Mr. Impossible. But it did take all week. Mr. Small grinned.
"Don't you mean,"
he said, "all tweak?" That story was called Little Miss Naughty. Now, please don't do anything so naughty than that, or else you would be in big trouble. It's time for you to go to bed. But until then, guys, I'll see you again tomorrow for another bedtime story. Sweet dreams.